Between 1955 and 1962, the days when gunslingers ruled the top-rated television shows in the world, Clint Walker was tallest in the West. They called him Cheyenne Bodie, a huge man with a badge and a code of honor that wrote the book on how Hollywood Western heroes were meant to behave. It was an image he carried into co-starring roles in movies like The Dirty Dozen, None But the Brave, and Pancho Villa. But the code of the West brought wannabe gunslingers out of the woodwork, such as the night Walker was returning home after a rodeo appearance in Houston, Texas.
There was a couple of cars parked by the curb full of guys, and the guys got out of one, and the guy says, Mr. Walker, and I turned around, I said, yes, and I'm dressed up in my Cheyenne outfit, wearing the gun, hat. And he walked up, and he's very serious, and he said, my name is so-and-so, and I recommend the Acme Fast Draw Club of Houston, Texas, and we challenge you to a fast draw contest with live ammunition tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. And I had to think fast because I wasn't interested in going out there and shooting live ammo, trying to beat somebody to the draw, and maybe shooting myself in the foot. So I just kind of stood a little taller, and I said, you fellas don't want to draw against me. I said, I am the slowest draw in the West. And his mouth dropped open, and he looked at me, and I just turned around and walked away.
Throughout his life, he himself has walked away from great danger because of a voice he says comes from within.
We've all heard of that still small voice, and it talks to us at times. Sometimes maybe we don't listen. Or we don't hear it because our mind is maybe on too many other things, I don't know. All my life I've always had, call it a guardian angel, whatever you want to call it, that has sort of looked out for me.
One time, for a scene in Cheyenne, he was about to be bound hand and foot and dangled over a fire by a piano wire. The voice warned him the wire was about to snap.
The voice told me, he said, make them untie your hands, that the wire is going to break. And so I told them, and so they untied me, and I said, get a stronger wire. And he said, oh, that wire is plenty strong. And I said, well, let's try it out here, and without my hands being tied or whatever. And we tried it out, and I hung on it about a minute and a half, and it broke. Down I went. Well, the prop man never said another word. He went and got a heavier wire. But had I had my hands and feet tied, I would have fell into the fire, and I surely would have gotten hurt.
But the most dramatic encounter with death would come one day on the ski slopes of Mammoth Mountain in California. Clint Walker was a relative newcomer to the sport, and someone had given him poles that were too short to navigate the snow moguls ahead of him.
The voice said, don't use those poles. And I thought, oh boy, I can't leave her poles up here. And she'll say, why'd you leave them up there? And I, say a voice told me to. She'll think I'm crazy. And I thought, surely it isn't that far down. I can surely make that. So away I went, and suddenly, and I couldn't tell you why or how, I was doing a somersault in the air down this steep hill. I lost the pole because it didn't have a strap on it. It went down into the snow, hit the hard pack, and it was pointing up. I come right down on it, went through the sternum and through the heart. And it bent the pole at a right angle, and then as I went down, I rolled off of it, and it pulled out. I knew I was hurt. I got up, I could see blood coming out, and it was a lot of pain. And then, I haven't told many people this, and I couldn't tell you what it was. I could see, it was like smoke rings emanating from my chest, and I was fascinated with that for a minute. But then I knew I had to get down to the bottom of the hill, and I thought maybe I can ski down there, but my knees began to shake, and then I fell into the snow. And then the next thing I knew, I was out of my body, and I was traveling away from the earth. And at that time, I was more aware of everything around me than I had ever been before. I looked down, I could see the earth, and I thought, that's how it must look to the astronauts when they're on the way to the moon, if they can look back and see the earth receding, getting smaller, and I thought, why, the earth is nothing but a dirty little old bus stop along the eternal journey. That was the thought that came to me. And I had a lot of other thoughts, like I felt as small as the smallest grain of sand, and at the very same time, I felt that I was 10,000 feet tall. I realized a lot of the things that I thought were important really weren't. Being a big star wasn't that important. What was important was to take the time to enjoy a sunset and sunrise, to spend time with family and good friends. And suddenly I decided that I hadn't done what I came to do. And I said, God, I'm in trouble. I want to go back and take another crack at it. I need your help. And then things faded away, and the next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital in Bishop. It was about 2:30 in the morning, I guess. They'd operated on me. Funny thing was, they had, by the time they got me to the hospital, 2 doctors pronounced me dead. And they had me on a gurney, waiting for the meat wagon, I guess. And then a heart specialist from UCLA happened to be there visiting a friend, decided to go out the back way to get to his car faster. Saw me, said what happened to him. They told him. He went over and took a look and said, I don't think this man is dead. And with that, he said he took off his coat, didn't have time to wash his hands, rolled up his sleeves, took some kind of a tool and started to cut me open to get at the heart. And I know that kind of brought me, I couldn't open my eyes, couldn't see him, and his voice sounded a long way away, but I said to him, do you really have to do that? And there was a silence for a bit there, and then he said, yes, I do. I should have paid attention to the warning, and I can tell you right now, when the voice says something to me now, I listen. I pay attention. When I got out of the hospital, the doctor told me, he says, Clint, I have to tell you something. He said, we can't take credit for you still being alive. He said, we don't understand it. You're contrary to everything that we ever learned. You should have been dead.